There you go.
Now, we're kind of overcast right now.
Okay, it says now you're recording the call, so that
Yes,
came up.
it does. And welcome to episode 12 of Wulfie's Skype sessions. And today I'm talking with Mr. John Gallager from Raven. How's it going?
I'm doing great, man. Good to be here.
Glad to hear it. So I was actually kind of a little bit at a loss as to where to go with this because I mean it's your most recent album, if I'm not mistaken, came out in September, Metal City.
Yep.
So let's talk about that a little bit, just to keep things relevant. And I know everybody's story with recent recording processes have been a little different regarding the limitations that we're dealing with COVID. How did you guys approach it?
Well, it was actually recorded before COVID.
Okay.
But it was different for us. With one notable exception, nearly every album we've done it in the studio as a band. And when we got Mike Heller in on drums, I was all set to book a studio, and he's like, nah, I like to do my drums in my own studio. We're like, uh-oh, does this mean the dreaded click track, which we'd been through years ago with the Packers Back, and it kind of, just up, sucked the life out of it.
Right.
And he says, no, I don't do it like that. Well, I'll play the song, I'll feel naturally where it should speed up, where it should slow down, and he builds a click track with 12, 13 different time changes to make it feel real, just for the purpose of having it as you've got that guideline in there so you can change stuff up later on. And I'm like, I remain to be convinced. He goes, well, send me a couple of demos. So I had, we had all the songs. So give him some guitar demos. And what he sent back blew us away. It was phenomenal. I'm like, all right, I don't care if you're playing in the nude with your mother's panties on your head. Whatever you're doing works. So please go ahead. So he did all that. We went in the studio in, late 2017. And to cut a very long story short, it just didn't work doing the guitar, bass and vocals at that studio. We had to scrap that for various nefarious reasons. And we were doing one of the cruises, the Monsters of Rock cruise, in early 2018, and ran into Michael Wagner, our old partner in crime from, All for One and Stay Hard and One for All.
Oh,
and
so
asked
many.
him, the plan was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just praise for Michael all around because storied career right there.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
He's literally just retired too, so it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. But we ran into him, and our plan was Mike Heller was moving to California, was going to build a new studio, and we'd all go there and record. Oh, okay. So we needed a guy to mix it. So we talked to Michael and said, hey, when we do this record, would you mix it? And he said, yeah, great. So awesome. We're all set to go. Mike moves. He's, it's going to take forever to do the studio. Michael Wagner gets in touch and says, when will you have the tracks ready? And we're like, oh, July? And this was in, I don't know, March of 2018. He says, well, I'm going in the hospital for a major operation. I'd prefer we did this beforehand because I don't know if I'm getting out, type of thing. Like, okay. He says, why don't you come and do it at our studio? Like, really? He says, yeah, come on down. So 2 days later, we found ourselves in Nashville with all our junk and got Mike to come in, and we all, cheerleaded each other. And Michael did what he did. He's the guy for guitar sounds, and we just wanted that killer guitar sound which he's always got, and the performances. He's always been great working with me with vocals to just help push me that little bit further.
Right.
And we had an awesome time. We were there for, best part of 2 weeks. Even had time out to go into town and go to one of those jam sessions. Me and Mark got up and played with a local band and had a lot of fun. So got it all done. We did mixes. We weren't happy with them. We ended up performing it out to a lot of different people and ended up with this guy Zeus, who's done a lot of modern rock stuff like I guess Rob Zombie and maybe Korn and people like that. But he did the right thing, and he kept the old school but brought a lot of new school into it, which was pretty much the concept of the album to start with. So it worked perfectly. And we were, so the entire process with that and doing the artwork took forever as well, because we had this comic book artwork concept, which was a real pain in the ass to get it together, but it was well worth all the effort.
Right.
So, there was a lot of obstacles, but at the end of the day, we got far more than we'd expected. And the reaction validated that, absolutely. The fans and the critics were incredibly positive on this. And, the overriding thing is like, how can a band who's been around since the Cretaceous era come up with such a great album that sounds fresh and vital? And I say, because that's what we fucking do, mate. That's what it is, isn't it?
You mentioned that, and we discussed this on the show quite a lot because bands like you guys, Overkill, any number of like thrash metal bands that have just never released a bad album, and I think a lot of people don't appreciate that you guys have always been pretty tight. Overkill, another one, Death Angel. I've always been impressed with how these bands can still, 30 plus 40 years in your case, you still got it, and it's incredible.
No, I mean it's what we love. We live and breathe to do this stuff, and we appreciate how lucky we are to be able to do it at all. There's a lot of people of our age they're sitting in a freaking hospital bed with tubes in them or what have you, or they're done, and we don't feel like that. We over the last, it's been a long process. After Mark had his big accident back in 2001, it really took us like 5 or 6 years to get back on the horse, and we've really worked hard since then. Planted the flag with Walk Through Fire. That was the first album back. It was like, okay, we need a great record, and we just kept trying to top it every time. And so far so good. We knew we had a great album in this one, but with a combination of getting Mike in, his enthusiasm and energy and performance really elevated what we were doing. So it really took it to somewhere else. And it's been really great working with him. The three of us, we've already come up with, we've got more than enough songs for another album right now. And, but you're always, I've got a lot of stuff kind of like in the pipeline. It's like, I want to finish this and see what it sounds like, because you want the best. You don't just want the first 10 songs you can come up with. With Metal City, we'd written over 30 songs, and they were good. They were all good. But we said, okay, if we do a record out of this lot, what would be a great opener? What would follow that? And basically sequenced an album out of what we had.
Right.
And made made it flow, which is it's almost a dying art these days. You want to, you're assuming your listener is going to listen all the way through and not do this ridiculous download. I'm listening to one track, nonsense. We're putting the effort in to take you on a journey, and you got to make that flow. It makes a huge difference. And we only wanted a 10-song album. We didn't want it too long. I think a lot of albums these days are just either padded or it's just overwhelming. You don't want to listen to a double, triple album in one shot unless you're doing a maybe fair enough if it's some kind of concept or whatever. But as a
Right.
regular collection of songs, hit them hard, hit them fast. There's nothing wrong with the old concept like the Van Halen albums. What were they, 30, 35 minutes? Kicked your
Oh,
ass,
yeah.
you wanted to put them on again immediately, you know? So, you know, as opposed to our quadruple album opus.
You know, or, you know, it's like, and not knocking Metallica, but, you know, recent albums where it's like, I think their last album was a double, but even previous albums, you know, like, let's take advantage of every available bit of CD space that we can, which is great if the songs are, you know, can keep you occupied for that long. But
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you are opening yourself up for that. I mean, the album we did before this one, Extermination,
yep.
thought it was a great record. It was
So
maybe
did I.
two songs too long. You know, really listening to it, it was 2 songs too long. There's nothing wrong with the songs at all. It's just, you know, it's like a good meal. Enough is as good as a feast.
Exactly, for sure. So, you know, I mentioned Metallica, and I did want to go off topic just a little bit because their first major tour was the Kill 'Em All for One tour, along with you guys, and I just wanted to kind of revisit some of your memories of that tour, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, we, you know, negotiated pretty much to come over and do a headline tour in the States, which would be our first headline tour in the States.
Right.
And Johnny Z, who was, you know, Svengali-ing us at the time, said, I've got this, you know, the biggest band in San Francisco to open up for you guys. And being, you know, kind of clued in, where like, there's no fucking way Y&T or Journey or Sammy. I mean, we knew bands from San Francisco, you know what I mean?
It
They went,
didn't
no, it's Metallica. And we're like, who?
dial, right?
So a tape came in the mail, and it was the No Life Till Leather. And I put it on. I took another look to see if the tape player was on the wrong speed, you know? It's like, oh, okay. So these guys are kind of like Motorhead on crack. Okay, awesome. That'll work. So we came over, they came over to the house, we all hung out, we had a great time, and it was just like a pirate expedition across America, you know?
Very
17
cool.
people in 2 trucks in a 6-berth Winnebago, you know, dirty, filthy, disgusting, and we just rocked our balls off from, you know, the East Coast across to the West Coast. And you know, they were, I mean, that's Lars's nature. He's like a sponge. He takes it all in. They, you know, I'd like to think they learned a lot from what we were doing. And they'd even mentioned they liked the way we transitioned to something similar but different from Wiped Out through to All for One. And they wanted to do something similar with a second record, which they certainly did. They brought in different feels and different
Right.
textures. And basically, you know, their second album was pretty much the template from where they were going to go right through, you know. But you know, we got on with them great. They were awesome, you know. Just like we were, they were a gang, you know. And
Yep.
a band who's a gang is always the best kind of band, you know, not the superstar with the side men, or the one guy that's obviously paying all these other
Right.
idiots to come out on the road with him. You want a gang. It's like the, you know, your school gang. You know, you're cutting your hands, blood brothers, all that kind of crap. You know, you want that feel.
It's that kind
So,
of connection.
you know, I mean, and people see this and they know it. And that's one of the reasons why they obviously broke out the way they did. People saw that. They wanted to be part of that gang. Definitely.
Right. So, you guys also, I wanted to, because this was like one of those light bulb moments over my head this morning, because it's like, I'm kind of like, man, what am I going to talk about aside from the new album? Because for me, I don't bring this up very often, but sometimes for me, the hardest thing is to come up with something that, you know, a person hasn't talked about a million times already. And I actually think I have something here that you guys worked, you know, obviously with Megaforce back in the day. Um, there's a lady who also worked with Megaforce by the name of Victoria Calandra, who I've become familiar with some of her history after. I can't even remember who added who, whether I added her or she added me on Facebook. It just seemed to be, a mutual interest there, and she has a great story. Rock and Roll Hotel North. Metallica stayed there in Ithaca, I believe it was, or was it Cortland?
Cortland.
It was Cortland. Okay, I knew it was one or the other. And they wrote "Ride the Lightning" there. And you guys, I think, according to what she has posted, stayed there the longest. And
yeah, we were there pretty much 4 or 5 years.
Was it that? Because I think she said 3 years, but
yeah, it's touching on 4 years, I think. I mean, basically, they were friends with Alex Perialis, who had the studio in Ithaca. So they basically said, hey, if any of the bands need a place to stay, we've got cheap rates. You can come up to the house. And since we were on tour most of the time, it was cheap. It made sense. But, sometimes being stuck in Cortland from January through till April when it snowed every damn day got a little rough.
Oh, yeah. April is unpredictable at best up here.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, there was 5 minutes, really nice and hot, and then it's back to the snow again.
Absolutely.
But that's what happened. And, she was the mother hen. She took care of us all. We were there, and lots of bands came through. Savoy Brown, the guys from that band were in there, which is how we ended up with Joe eventually, because Joe was playing drums with them. Exciter popped in for a few days. They were in there. And, it was cool. It was a great way of seeing another part of America, for sure. I remember Vicky pointing out the window, and there was this strange troglodyte-looking gentleman with a homemade bicycle made of wood. I kid you not, like a cart, pedaling down the street. I goes, what the hell is that? He goes, that owns half the town.
Well, there you go.
Okay, fair enough. So some very strange stuff going on up there, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's I actually some time ago, I want to say it's been a good 7 years. I was actually approaching her about possibly doing an interview for the show and just talking about all that. And for whatever reason, it just never panned out. And I actually messaged her on Facebook again this morning after it's like, now that I'm doing these Skype sessions, I would really like to, I kind of hope she sees this. Like, I'd like to sit with her and talk about a lot of that time period.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there's a fascinating story in there.
She's definitely got plenty of stories, that's for sure. It was there was some crazy things went on in that house, for sure.
It's like there's only so much a photo can tell, and she's got a ton of them up. And like you guys, Metallica, members of Deep Purple, I think Brian Johnson from AC/DC's in one of them. It's just like, God, I want to know what's behind all of it. It's like,
yeah.
But it's like, it's just me as a fan of this music almost my entire life, because it's like, I was probably 7 years old. My dad brought home Deep Purple, and for me, that's where it began for me. Deep Purple and Kiss were instrumental, and it's just I'm like seeing all these people in her Facebook posts, and I'm like, there's a fascinating story here. But hopefully I can.
You definitely got to nail her down to do that.
I would do that.
That'd be very cool. And when you do, give her my best. Please do.
I will do that. So continuing, let's get more current again here. The album's been out since September. COVID is still kind of a thing. Restrictions are slowly being lifted. Any touring plans at this stage, or?
Yeah, to backpedal a little bit. I mean, we got the album mixed and ready to go. It would have been maybe tail end of 2019. So we were all set to bring the album out early 2020 and then tour. And this came into probably January 2020. And, you know, we wanted to tour in Europe. That's really our main market. And we had a couple of great opening bands. And they couldn't commit. They had other things going on. And it was like, well, we're not just going to go out. You know, you've got to make a statement. You've got to make a good package and do it right. So we're like, let's postpone it. And it wasn't, you know, in Europe, you really can't tour around the summer. It's all festivals. It's just like, so well, you know, let's do it a little later. And it came, you know, the slot the record company wanted was like September. Yeah, fine. We've waited this damn long. Let's wait till September. Let's do it right. And literally the week later, lockdowns, COVID.
Right.
So it's like, wow, we kind of dodged a bullet there. Because a lot of bands were out on tour and everything got cancelled. And when you're on tour like that, the majority of your costs are front loaded. You know, airplane flights, equipment rental, truck rental, all these things you have to pay up front. So if you're paying that up front and all your shows get cancelled, you're going to get screwed. So we were very lucky we dodged that. And we just figured, oh, well, it's coming out in September. Hopefully everything will be fine by then. And it wasn't.
Right.
But the thing that did work slightly in our favor is that since there was no live music, the audience was hungry for any new music whatsoever. So that worked, you know. I think a lot more people got exposed to what we do, which is great. And then, you know, we've planned this tour that we're going to do in Europe in February has been bumped a couple of times, obviously, due to this nonsense. And, you know, it was going to be a few months ago, and then it was going to be just after the summer, and it was like, you know, to hell with it. We'll do it in 2022, February, right?
Right.
So that's where that's supposed to be. Anything else, we shall see. I've had a few approaches for some hit and miss US stuff, and it's all a question of, you know, whether things are going to open up and, you know, whether it's worthwhile for us to do it, because we want to tour properly. We really want to do that rather than, you know, a weekend here or a weekend there. We like to go out and do it right. So really, as soon as things open up, we're out there. And the other thing is, I mean, because Mike's in California, and California is like, you know, freaking Nazi Germany at the moment. I see my friends out there rehearsing with masks on. It's like, really? Okay. So once this is cleared up, we can get together, and we've got a lot of recording stuff to do. We got lots of projects. We've got the new album. We want to do another covers album.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm working on getting the rights to our older albums. So eventually, with a view to doing, you know, like box set versions with all the cool stuff, with the essays and photographs and extra track stuff, and, you know, do it right. Because it's just been, a few of them have just been reissued for the, you know, 75th time. It's just like, no, we get the rights, that'll stop, and we'll do it properly. And put something out which the fans deserve, to get something right, rather than, you know, being, hey, it's another reissue and it's exactly the same as the last one. You know, we'll do it right.
Good to hear. So, anything else pertinent that you would like to discuss? Open forum here.
Well, I just finished actually doing a year of bass videos on Facebook. Every day I would post a 2 or 3 minutes little bass solo thing.
Yes,
which was a challenge to, you know, keep it fresh, keep it different. And I'd play everything from, you know, trying to destroy the guitar with as much distortion as possible, to playing musical tunes, you know, no limits, trying everything. and that was a lot of fun, and got a lot of people who normally wouldn't check stuff out, got that forward and like, whoa, check this out. So that was fun. And I just said, after a year, okay, we'll give it a break, but I'll do some more stuff. It's fun. And the other fun thing, it was actually quite annoying. I sit down playing stuff and I go, I can't record this because it's too good. I got to keep it to one side. This is a possible song. I'm not just putting it up on Facebook. Let's keep that. So it would often take longer than you would think. Because I had too many good ideas. So I have those too many good ideas stacked in my hard drive, and I got to go through them. And like I say, this coming up right now actually is the getting into the writing frame of mind again, and collating and reviewing what we got and seeing what else we can come up with.
Very cool. And I believe, I want to say, I wasn't sure. We weren't really. I usually kind of try to keep it within, I don't know, half an hour seems about the respected time frame, and it's been a good discussion. It really has. I was really uncertain as to, man, it's like, I hope I don't freeze up like it's been known to happen. Check out the Jeff Pilson interview sometime. But no, seriously, thank you. My first exposure to Raven, I got to say, came from a local radio show host who had a show on Saturday nights in my area, here in Seneca Falls. And guy's name was Bob Appel. And every week, Saturday night at the Rock Shop, and my first time hearing Raven was on his show. Cool. I'm pretty sure it's on and on. He played that quite a bit, and a few of the others from that time period. And,
cool. We've got we like upstate New York. I mean, because we spend so much time in New York and New Jersey anyway. So, and we come from the northeast of England, and the general character of the people is very similar. It's like in your face. What you see is what you get.
Pretty much.
And real. You know what I mean? Real people.
Yeah.
So we immediately identified with that right from the get-go. So
very cool.
So hopefully we'll be back there and making a lot of noise before too long.
I hope to be, something you played. I think you guys did a show at Sharky's in Syracuse. I think I could be mistaken. It might have been but I think it might have been you guys. And for whatever reason, a couple of us wanted to go, and I think the weather might have taken a turn.
The weather was terrible. There was a good crowd there, but the weather was terrible. And we had a lot of bother trying to get the bus moving after the show. Yeah. We were under the bus with hair dryers trying to warm up the brake lines or some crap. Horrible.
And that's New York weather for you.
Oh, yeah, totally. But, we don't mind. We'll be back. Absolutely.
And I hope to be there this time.
Yep. Come on down.
Well, thank you for taking some time to talk to me here today. Throw the Randy MetalWulf page a like, those who are watching, if you get a chance. Go to MetallicaOnslaught.com for all your Metallica Onslaught needs. And as always, as well, our sister show, The Last Exit for the Loss. Show them some love, too, if you get a moment. We're all on Facebook. And we're all very much, Last Exit's a little different than us. But a little more of the same, and we're all a bunch of goofs who have a good time and love this music. And anybody who listens to our show knows we're completely insane, but that's a good thing.
Of course it is. It's the only way to be. You got to be completely insane.
I like to think we're like a Monty Python episode written by H.P. Lovecraft with illustration by Burke Breathed, who does the Bloom County cartoon strip, remember? It's just so many, we bring so many different of our own little elements into it, and it's just pure ridiculousness. But
perfect.
Yeah. Show us some love, and once again, thank you, John Gallager. Check out the new album, Metal City, and hopefully we'll see you guys next year.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, and everyone out there, thanks for your support, and we'll see you soon.
Power to the metal.